You know that feeling when you catch yourself noticing every little detail about someone, almost without thinking. The way they laugh, the expressions that cross their face, the tiny gestures that make them unique. It is in these moments that your mind quietly acknowledges something you might not even admit to yourself yet. That there is a connection, something deeper than friendship, and perhaps even feelings you are not ready to confess. When both people are experiencing this, it creates a subtle, almost magnetic tension between them. You find yourself remembering the things they say, not because you are trying to, but because your brain has labeled them as important. You laugh a little louder when they make a joke. You tilt your head to listen more intently. You notice the way they respond to different situations. All of this becomes a silent language, a code that only the two of you can understand. It is not about overanalyzing. It is simply your subconscious recognizing value, attachment, and curiosity, even if your conscious mind is hesitant to admit it. This attention is not accidental. It is the quiet evidence of feelings that exist, even if words have yet to catch up. When both people pay this kind of subtle attention to each other, it changes the dynamic in ways that are often invisible to others. There is a rhythm that develops almost instinctively, where each person is aware of the other in ways that feel natural, not forced. You may find yourself adjusting your actions, sitting a little closer, leaning in when they speak, pausing slightly to let them respond first, without consciously planning it. The other person is doing the same, mirroring your movements, picking up on the unspoken cues that reveal interest. Psychologically, this is fascinating because it demonstrates how the human brain can communicate emotions non-verbally. It is a way of signaling connection and investment without ever saying the words out loud. And when both people are doing it, there is a quiet, almost imperceptible dance happening, a back and forth that reveals feelings before either person has the courage to articulate them. Recognizing these patterns is important because it tells you that what you feel is not imagined. The other person is engaging with you at the same level of attention and awareness, which means the connection is mutual, even if unspoken. This silent attention also carries emotional weight because it shapes how you feel about your interactions. You notice small inconsistencies in their tone or behavior because you care more than you would about someone else. A delayed response to a message, a fleeting look, or a brief hesitation can trigger curiosity, concern, or excitement. These reactions are evidence of emotional investment, even when there is no verbal acknowledgement. When both people are sensitive to each other in this way, it amplifies the tension, the unspoken knowledge that feelings exist but are not yet admitted. What is remarkable is that this attention is often so instinctive that it can feel effortless. You might laugh at each other's jokes without thinking, or instinctively adjust your behavior to make them more comfortable. Yet, beneath these simple gestures lies a powerful psychological truth. Both of you are invested, and your brains are actively responding to the emotional signals that one another sends, even if your hearts are not ready to put them into words. It is subtle, yes, but undeniable. And it forms the foundation for the deeper emotional connection that is already present between you. Have you ever noticed how you suddenly become more aware of yourself around a certain person? The way you speak, how you move, even the smallest gestures feel amplified. This is not just coincidence, it is a psychological response when feelings exist but are unspoken. When two people secretly have feelings for each other, there is an invisible spotlight that shines on every interaction. You laugh differently, perhaps a little louder, or pause slightly longer when they are talking. Your posture shifts without conscious thought. Your tone of voice changes, and you catch yourself monitoring even the smallest reactions. What seems like minor self-consciousness is actually a reflection of your emotional investment. Your mind is simultaneously trying to protect you from embarrassment and signaling interest to the other person. And the fascinating part is that the other person is experiencing the exact same phenomenon. There is a mirror effect, a psychological dance where both of you are navigating this heightened awareness while masking it as casual behavior. It is subtle yet profoundly telling, and often becomes one of the clearest signs that unspoken feelings exist on both sides. This heightened self-awareness is accompanied by a constant internal evaluation. You notice how they respond to you, and every small detail takes on greater significance. Did they lean in when you spoke? Did they maintain eye contact a little longer than usual? Did they remember something you mentioned in passing weeks ago? Your mind starts piecing together these signals, analyzing them for hidden meaning. And because the other person is experiencing the same heightened awareness, they are doing the exact same mental calculations about your words and actions. This mutual attention creates an invisible tension, a silent feedback loop that neither of you openly acknowledges. Psychologically, it is fascinating because it shows how our emotions can influence our behaviors without verbal confirmation. The subtle adjustments you make, from tone to gestures, are not manipulative. They are instinctive attempts to communicate interest safely. And when both people are operating in this state, it strengthens the unspoken connection because every interaction carries a weight that goes beyond ordinary friendship. The intensity of this self-awareness also shapes the emotional experience of every encounter. Moments that would otherwise feel ordinary become charged with significance. A casual compliment feels meaningful, a shared joke feels intimate, and a simple smile can linger in your thoughts long after the interaction ends. Your brain is essentially running a subtle, continuous scan for signs of reciprocity, measuring how invested the other person is without needing explicit words. This mutual hyper-awareness fosters a deep psychological bond because both of you are constantly attuned to the smallest cues, mirroring emotional states, and responding almost instinctively to each other's presence. The remarkable thing about this dynamic is that it can exist for weeks, months, or even years without a single declaration of feelings. Yet, despite the lack of verbal acknowledgement, the connection grows stronger because attention and awareness are two of the most powerful indicators of emotional investment. Recognizing this sign allows you to see that your feelings are mirrored, even when courage has not yet bridged the gap between thought and speech. When feelings are present but unspoken, communication often takes on a delicate, indirect quality. Instead of saying exactly what is on your mind, both of you might rely on subtle gestures, playful teasing, or hints that carry meaning beyond the surface. These indirect signals serve as a way to test the waters without fully exposing your vulnerability. You might find yourself joking in a particular way, lingering on certain topics, or giving compliments that are light but meaningful. The other person responds in kind, matching the tone and energy of your signals. This type of interaction is almost like a dance, where each move is measured and thoughtful, yet appears effortless. Psychologically, this is fascinating because it demonstrates how humans can communicate emotional interest without ever speaking the words aloud. When both people engage in this kind of behavior, it creates a shared understanding that feels intimate and exclusive, even in the absence of verbal admission. It is a safe, low-risk method to express feelings while observing the other person's receptivity. And when mirrored by the other side, it becomes a powerful, invisible connection that often goes unnoticed by anyone else. The beauty of indirect communication lies in its subtlety. It can be a playful comment that makes you both laugh, a look that lingers a second too long, or a gesture that suggests care without words. Each signal carries a double meaning. It is both an expression of affection and a test of the other person's feelings. You find yourself constantly reading between the lines, noticing nuances in tone, timing, and body language. The other person is doing the same, evaluating your interest while masking their own. This mutual indirectness is a hallmark of unspoken attraction because it allows both parties to express curiosity and emotional engagement without the fear of rejection. Psychologically, this works because it engages the brain's pattern recognition and reward systems, making every interaction feel exciting, meaningful, and loaded with possibility. Over time, these subtle exchanges create a shared rhythm, a pattern that signals emotional investment and keeps both individuals engaged, even when neither is ready to openly confess their feelings. The effect of indirect communication is amplified because it fosters anticipation and emotional tension. Each conversation, each interaction carries potential meaning, and you become attuned to the smallest details. A slight change in tone, a delayed response, or even a seemingly casual comment can trigger curiosity or excitement because you are invested in reading the hidden layers. When both people operate in this pattern, there is an unspoken understanding that feelings exist, and yet neither wants to break the fragile balance by naming them aloud. Psychologically, this creates a magnetic pull. Both of you are subtly signaling and testing each other, creating a feedback loop of emotional engagement. Recognizing these patterns allows you to see the signs of mutual interest without needing explicit confirmation. Indirect communication is not avoidance. It is the brain's way of protecting you while keeping the connection alive, a silent conversation of feelings that words have yet to catch up with. When two people have feelings for each other but neither admits it, even the smallest interactions can carry a surprising emotional weight. A simple smile, a casual comment, or a brief glance can trigger a cascade of emotions that feel disproportionate to the moment, and that is exactly the point. Psychologically, this is because your brain has already assigned emotional significance to the other person, linking them with reward, comfort, and validation. When they do something kind or attentive, it releases a subtle surge of pleasure and reassurance. Conversely, moments of distance, distraction, or perceived disinterest can trigger unease or disappointment. The fascinating part is that both parties often experience this effect simultaneously. You might notice that your mood subtly shifts depending on their presence or actions, and the other person mirrors this sensitivity. These emotional ripples are a clear sign that a deeper connection exists, one that does not need verbal acknowledgement to influence your thoughts and feelings. It is an invisible yet powerful confirmation that the feelings are mutual, even if unspoken. What makes this emotional impact particularly revealing is how quickly and instinctively it manifests. You may find yourself thinking about something they said hours or even days earlier, replaying it in your mind, analyzing tone, choice of words, or gestures. Similarly, the other person may display signs of heightened emotional sensitivity in your presence, reacting to subtle cues in ways they do not fully understand. Psychologists explain this as a form of emotional attunement, where both parties unconsciously track and respond to each other's feelings. This attunement amplifies the intensity of interactions, making ordinary moments feel charged with meaning. When both people are engaged in this pattern, it reinforces the unspoken bond because every encounter leaves a lingering emotional trace. Even casual interactions become opportunities to communicate care, interest, and investment without ever stating it outright. The result is a powerful, silent dialogue that operates beneath conscious awareness but is deeply felt. The emotional influence extends beyond direct interactions and into everyday thoughts and behaviors. You may notice your attention drifting toward them during the day, or you feel a quiet anticipation when expecting to see them again. Similarly, the other person may mirror these same subtle patterns of attention and emotional fluctuation. Psychologically, this creates a feedback loop. Your feelings influence their mood and reactions, and vice versa, even without acknowledgement. Recognizing these patterns is important because it highlights that emotional connection does not always need verbal expression to exist. The feelings are real, present, and mutual, even if the courage to speak them has not yet arrived. This awareness allows you to see that your shared experiences, reactions, and emotional shifts are meaningful indicators of mutual attraction. It is a silent but undeniable confirmation that a connection exists, laying the groundwork for trust, intimacy, and eventually honest communication. When two people have feelings for each other but neither admits it, there is often a constant internal tug-of-war. On one side, there is desire, the urge to reach out, to express what you feel, to bridge the gap and create clarity. On the other side, there is restraint, the fear of rejection, the anxiety of vulnerability, or the concern about upsetting the delicate balance that already exists. This push and pull happens silently within each person's mind, shaping behavior in ways that may appear subtle but are psychologically significant. You may catch yourself overthinking your words, hesitating to text or call, or replaying past conversations to interpret every nuance. Meanwhile, the other person is experiencing the same tension, analyzing your actions, questioning whether they should reveal their feelings, and carefully measuring the timing and impact of their every move. This internal conflict is not a weakness. It is a signal that emotional investment is high. It is your mind's way of protecting you from potential pain, while also highlighting the depth of your attraction. The intensity of this struggle reveals just how important the other person has become in your emotional landscape. What is fascinating about this dynamic is how it influences decision-making and everyday interactions. Even mundane moments take on significance because every action is filtered through the lens of possibility and consequence. A brief pause before responding to a message, a slightly longer glance during conversation, or choosing when and how to initiate contact. All of these become deliberate yet unconscious tests of how the other person might feel. Psychologically, this is the brain balancing risk and reward. The desire to connect is weighed against the fear of vulnerability. Both people are constantly engaged in this mental negotiation, which explains why interactions can feel simultaneously exciting and exhausting. It is an invisible tension that gives a certain electricity to every encounter. Recognizing this pattern allows you to see that hesitation is not absence of feeling. It is evidence that the feelings are real and significant. When both parties share this internal struggle, it creates a mirrored experience, a silent confirmation of mutual interest, even when nothing is explicitly said. This internal conflict also subtly shapes emotional awareness. You become hyper-conscious of their reactions, scanning for signs of reciprocity while trying to maintain a composed exterior. Small gestures, a smile, a laugh, a touch, can trigger waves of hope, excitement, or doubt. The other person experiences the same sensitivity, noticing your cues, interpreting your tone, and deciding how much to reveal. Psychologically, this mutual vigilance strengthens the emotional bond, because each person's feelings are constantly acknowledged, even without verbal admission. It also explains why the anticipation of seeing them or hearing from them can feel so intense. The mind is actively weighing possibilities, outcomes, and emotional risk. This push and pull, desire, and restraint is a defining characteristic of unspoken mutual attraction. Understanding it allows both individuals to recognize that the connection is real, profound, and shared, even if courage has not yet bridged the gap between thought and expression. The tension itself becomes proof of investment, silently confirming the depth of feeling on both sides. When two people have feelings for each other but neither admits it, you often notice a subtle drive to be near one another, even in social settings. This is not about controlling situations or forcing interactions. It is about the unconscious prioritization of their presence in your life. You may find yourself adjusting your plans to coincide with theirs, seeking opportunities to sit nearby in group settings, or steering conversations in ways that include them. Similarly, they might do the same for you, creating an invisible gravitational pull that neither of you openly acknowledges. Psychologically, this is a clear indication of interest. When someone matters deeply, your brain naturally seeks proximity, attention, and shared experience. These actions are rarely deliberate. They feel instinctive, effortless, and yet profoundly revealing. The fact that both people engage in this behavior simultaneously is a powerful signal of mutual investment. It is an unspoken way of saying, "I want to be near you, I value your presence," without ever needing to verbalize the sentiment. When recognized, these subtle patterns can make the emotional connection between two people unmistakably real, even if the courage to admit it aloud has not yet arrived. This tendency to prioritize each other also shapes interactions in ways that are psychologically meaningful. When in a group, you may notice that your attention consistently drifts toward them, listening more intently to their contributions, laughing at their jokes, or responding more enthusiastically than you would with others. Likewise, they might display the same attentiveness toward you. These behaviors create an invisible feedback loop where both parties feel seen, valued, and acknowledged in ways that go beyond superficial friendship. The mutual focus on one another produces a subtle, continuous reinforcement of emotional significance. Psychologists explain that this heightened attentiveness is a hallmark of emotional investment because it is driven by a desire for closeness and connection rather than obligation. When repeated consistently, these patterns create a silent confirmation of feelings, which often becomes more powerful than words because it is observed in behavior rather than claimed verbally. The consistent prioritization of each other's presence acts as an invisible thread, quietly pulling both individuals together and reinforcing the unspoken bond. The impact of this mutual prioritization is most evident over time, as the accumulation of small gestures creates a sense of intimacy and shared importance. Every choice to seek proximity, initiate conversation, or remember small preferences signals that the other person is valued. Even simple actions, like arriving early to catch them or sharing experiences in subtle ways, carry emotional weight because they demonstrate attention and care without verbal acknowledgement. Psychologically, this pattern fosters a sense of reliability and emotional safety, strengthening the connection. Both parties become increasingly aware of the significance of their interactions, and the unspoken feelings grow more palpable. Recognizing these behaviors allows you to understand that emotional investment does not always require explicit admission. Actions, consistency, and attentiveness often speak louder than words. The prioritization of each other's presence in social contexts is a quiet but unmistakable signal that feelings are mutual, forming a strong foundation for eventual verbal acknowledgement and deeper emotional intimacy. When two people have feelings for each other but neither admits it, the moments of vulnerability they share can be profoundly revealing. These are the subtle instances when one person opens up about a fear, a challenge, or a personal insight, and the other listens with genuine care, without judgment or interruption. What makes these moments remarkable is that they are unplanned and often fleeting, yet they carry immense psychological weight. When both people allow themselves to share in these small, personal ways, it is a silent acknowledgement of trust and emotional closeness. You do not need to verbalize your feelings because the act of opening up and responding with empathy communicates more than words ever could. This mutual vulnerability is a sign that both parties are already emotionally invested and that the connection runs deeper than casual friendship. Psychologically, humans are wired to bond over shared emotional experiences, and when two people consistently reveal parts of themselves in each other's presence, it strengthens the unspoken emotional bridge that exists between them. The subtlety of these vulnerable moments is what makes them so telling. They might occur as a confession about a bad day, a hesitation in expressing an opinion, or a fleeting emotional reaction to something deeply personal. In these instances, the other person responds with attentiveness, encouragement, or shared understanding, creating an invisible safety net that reassures both individuals. When this happens repeatedly, it fosters an intimate emotional rhythm where trust and connection are reinforced without ever needing to say, "I like you," or "I have feelings for you." The psychological impact is powerful because it cultivates empathy and mutual understanding, both of which are foundational for meaningful emotional bonds. Even in silence, these exchanges communicate care, attentiveness, and recognition of emotional significance. The fact that both people engage in these moments shows that they are equally invested, creating a shared emotional landscape that is difficult to ignore. Over time, these moments of vulnerability accumulate into a silent, unspoken dialogue. Each shared personal story, empathetic response, or understanding glance adds a layer of emotional depth that strengthens the bond between the two individuals. Psychologically, this pattern fosters emotional intimacy and signals mutual investment without requiring explicit verbal acknowledgement. You may find yourself reflecting on these moments long after they occur, feeling a sense of closeness or resonance that goes beyond casual interaction. The other person likely experiences the same reflection, reinforcing the connection from both sides. Recognizing this sign allows you to understand that emotional investment is present, even when neither person is ready to articulate it. These moments are proof of a deeper connection, a quiet but undeniable confirmation that feelings exist and that both individuals value the emotional space they share together. When two people have feelings for each other but neither admits it, one of the most telling signs is a persistent curiosity about the other person's life. This is not casual interest or polite attention. It is a genuine, consistent desire to know what they are thinking, feeling, and experiencing. You may catch yourself remembering small details about their day, asking questions about their work or hobbies, or noticing subtle changes in their behavior. It goes beyond mere curiosity. It is a psychological reflection of emotional investment. Your mind treats their experiences as significant because they have become important in your internal world. The other person is likely doing the exact same thing, tracking your moods, remembering your words, and noticing your reactions. This mutual curiosity creates a silent dialogue that is continuous and emotionally charged, even without verbal acknowledgement. Psychologically, it signals that both of you are mentally and emotionally attuned to each other, which is a hallmark of unspoken attraction and interest. What makes this curiosity especially significant is how it influences everyday behavior. You might find yourself going out of your way to share experiences with them, to ask questions that invite more than just surface-level conversation, or to respond thoughtfully to things they reveal. Similarly, they are likely doing the same, showing attentiveness in ways that may seem subtle but are deeply meaningful.